Does Simon Parkes work for the CIA to disseminate disinformation to the masses? According to Ted Mahr, popular radio host out of Seattle for Out of This World Radio, and longtime friend and interviewer of Simon, he does. Hi guys, I'm Seeker of Truth. Now, to get to the bottom of the story, we need to first of all introduce who Ted Mahr is. As I said, Ted Mahr is a popular radio host. He does the Out of This World radio show, and his own description of the show is it's a program that focuses on out of this world information, including psychic phenomena, UFOs, metaphysics, and predictions for the coming years in the United States and around the world. Now, amongst other things, Ted claims to be a channeler and had been for a lot of his life. What you need to know is that Ted's been running this radio show for 8 years now, and he's quite respected in the community. He has many followers, listeners, and he has been doing interviews with Simon Parkes as far back as 4 or 5 years now, and I've seen multiple of them. I've seen multiple of the beginning ones, and of course, pre 2020, you know, they're all about his background, his alien experiences. Let's first of all let's see what Ted Maher had recently said around Simon. Apparently, according to Ted, accepting a deal with the CIA.
When Simon told me that he had a lifelong ambition to work for an intelligence agency called the Central Intelligence Agency, or the National Security Agency here in the United States. The background was that you have to understand his background to understand that kind of desire. His mom worked for the NSA, CIA, and his grandfather also worked for MI6 and also American intelligence during World War II. So Simon wanted to carry on his family lineage, and he told me that he felt like he would be failing his purpose in life unless he worked for them. I was approached by, out of the blue, by a agent for that agency asking me if Simon and I would like to work for them to spread disinformation on my radio show around the world. And I looked at them and I said, no, I couldn't do it, because I didn't work this hard to create a better planet to work for an agency like that. But Simon did accept their offer, and he was offered $250,000 a year for that service. He also said, he was on his show yesterday actually discussing it, and he openly admits he signed a non-disclosure agreement for that, so he can't discuss the details, but I do know the details from the offer since I was there. About a week ago, Simon asked all his followers in all these different countries to visualize having a dark cloud over everyone and a dark cloud over the earth. He said that was for the ascension. And it's just my opinion that you don't create ascension by invoking a dark cloud over anyone, and especially over this planet. You create ascension, you make this world a better place by using love and light, which Professor Albert Einstein, tells me is the most powerful and important force in the universe. And so with that, what I'd love everyone to do is put their hand on their heart and send lots of love and light around the planet, and a healing prayer. It's called the Ho'oponopono from Hawaii. This does work. And I'd like for you just to say that after me. Say, we're sorry, please forgive us, we thank you, and we love you. And we'll do that twice more. We're sorry. And I think that will certainly increase the vibration of this planet and help people heal much more than creating dark clouds over the planet.
Wow. Now, there's a few things that Ted says here to break down, and a bit of background that needs to be discussed here. So first of all, he's talking about how things all changed after he did an interview with Simon and Q, believe it or not.
I've known Mr. Park since 2017 for the past approximately 5 years. I got to know him quite well. He used to be on another radio station out of Scotland. I don't remember the name of it now. But when he left that station, I sent him an email and asked him to be on my show. And he was coming on twice a month for about 3 or 4 years. He came on approximately. And then Q's is a second story, but we can get to that in a minute. It was it. I really enjoyed his work at first. I thought he was a good man, trying to make the world a better place. And then round about June of 2020, he asked me to he wanted to talk to Q, and because Q had been on my show for the past 2 years before that, and so I said, okay, I arranged a Zoom call with him, and I was quite surprised what he wanted to talk about. He said that his grandfather was was well known in MI6 in the UK intelligence service for his work during World War II, and he was very proud of him, and that his mom also worked for the NSA and also the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, and that he wanted to carry on that purpose in life, and if he couldn't do it, then he would have failed his life purpose. And I was quite surprised at that because I thought he wanted to talk about spiritual matters with me and Q and I. So anyway, he talked at length about that, and there was an offer from the Central Intelligence Agency where him and I would work together. And the specifics of that offer is that each of us would be paid about $250,000 a year. There's quite a few other details of that. I have written up a dossier on Mr. Parks, and I've got affidavits and evidence regarding his activities working for that agency that I don't want to disclose today, and I can tell you why in a couple of minutes. I've received over a dozen different death threats over the last year and a half, 2 years. And what I've done as insurance, I've sent that dossier out to over 100 light workers. And if something should happen to me, that information will be sent out and become public.
Right.
Yeah. So, and if you want, Alfair, you can send me your address. I'm happy to send it to. I just ask you keep it confidential
Of
and
course.
release it only should something happen to me. Now, I'm not suicidal. I love life. I don't use drugs, and I want to preface that I'm in good health, and so should something happen to me, that would be released. But we'll get back to Mr. Parks then. He really wanted to work for this agency, and I said I couldn't do it.
And so, sorry, he told you this in private conversation beforehand?
He told this on a conversation with Q and I on a Zoom call we had.
There was broadcast, or
no, it was private. It was a private
okay.
private conversation in June of 2020. So I know all the details, and I said, Simon, look, I can't do it. I didn't work this hard to get to this point in life. And they had represented to me that they were white hats, but they were very dark hats, and I couldn't do it. But he wanted to do it, so I wished him well. And then a little bit after that, how can I describe what happened? He started getting more and more distant to the point where I started getting attacks on me. Now, I'm leaving some details out that's in the dossier, but I'll just kind of summarize it for you. And roundabout, Q had kept up conversations with him, unbeknownst to me during this time. And roundabout December of, I have also known Q since about 2018, 2018. And I also got to know him quite well. And back in 18 and 19, he did a lot of good work for people. And I was a witness to that. He really did a lot of good work. But something changed in December of 2021 when he decided to work for the other side through the influence of Mr. Parks. And I started getting reports of women being assaulted by him, sexually assaulted by him. And it wasn't one or two. We're talking 10, 12, more than that, dozen or more, in all these different countries, all over the world. And he give a attractive young lady a reading. And I started getting reports back that she had actually ended up getting sexually assaulted by him. Now, I don't know how he did it, and I don't want to know. But I told him, I said, look, if you're doing readings, that's totally unethical and probably illegal too. And I'm getting all these complaints, so I'm backing off from you. I can't work with you anymore. That was in early January, December last year, Christmas and early January this year. And so I've backed off from him, and he's really changed since that time. I do know he's been working with Mr. Parks.
There was interviews between Ted and Simon with a guy claiming to be Q, or he claimed to be one of 3 Qs that were a collective consciousness, I think he put it, and they were at the top of the Q team, and he called himself Q. Now, Simon did some interviews with him. Charlie Ward did an interview with Ted and Q. I'll show you a little clip of who Q claims to be and why he is Q, and that's very interesting. But just know, and we'll discuss this more later, that this Q, this one of 3 team, turned out to be an absolute wrong 'un. Multiple claims from independent claims from different women from different areas of the world, all saying the same thing, that they had private sessions with Q and that they were sexually abused. So I'll get into that, but first of all, let me show a small clip of who Q is in his own words.
Did it start a lot earlier? Yes, it did. So the travesty with Mr. Kennedy was one of the stepping stones for us to be a little more aggressive. And here's how it works. You're talking to one of the most tortured people on the planet. And until, let's say, 2017 October, when the last implant was removed from my physical body, that's when the Q post could begin. And here's how it works. So when I was born many years ago, they have a tool to see higher frequency beings coming into our reality, which would be me, might be you as well. We already know the answer, don't we, Charlie? Mm-hmm. All right, so they have a tool to see genetically who is going to make a bigger splash in the pan, if you will. And I'm sorry to inform you, these individuals are not people.
Right.
Okay. So these individuals, once they realize my family lineages was, say, in this version of humans, escalating in our capabilities, our tools, they had to get on top of it. So the first thing they did was microchip me. They put a biological implant in me, and they also put a soul overlay on me. Okay. Now the soul overlay was removed by special force individual. In 2017, that's when the Q post began, and here's how it works. So as soon as there's 3 of us with the same consciousness, we're able to transmit back to a light vessel. We use the term vessel because it's a very long story how multi-frequency transportation works. So this is an easy conversation to just say the vessel, a light vessel. This light vessel now takes the transmission of consciousness in this region and sends it right back down to the gift and or the supercomputer, conscious computer. Now, in this case, we have a fraction of the military. We have some very, very great benevolent individuals, I will call them, using the consciousness of the planet, sorting it the way they feel is best. So as an example, I can extrapolate, I can go get all the information. It's granular for me, so I'd go bonkers if I did it every day, but I certainly have access to all of the information. And you can assume the better term for us is time travelers. So I've been all the way to 2150, and I've been here 7 times. And we're able to see opportunities where we could participate, but not obstruct, if you will. Does that help?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Very good. My apologies for being so long-winded. Truly, truly want to help, and I want everything for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
How else can I help and proceed with you today?
This for me has been enlightening, would be the word I think that I would use, because what I had was, from day one, I had factual information from a very, very good source.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've done on this journey is cross-reference it with Q,
Mm-hmm.
cross-reference it with the spiritual side to get clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's given me the clarity to be able to deliver the message that I do.
Okay, so isn't that crazy, right? One of the ladies that had a private session with Q and was an ex Connecting Consciousness member spoke to me around the private session that she'd had, and she'd said that she'd brought up this session with Simon and Becky, and that they had said that they knew of this Q person for a long time. However, they knew this person before they were claiming to be Q, and they were surprised when he came out as Q. Now, they did say at this point, oh, he's one of 3 Qs of the Q team. We were shocked when he come forward with it, of course, but he has the right to call himself a Q anon. So isn't everyone following that stuff and putting out intel, or looking into that stuff? Aren't they all QAnons? Does that give anyone the right to go around calling themselves Q? The reason why suddenly they'd flipped from calling him Q in interview and to anyone else, and why he'd gone from being referred to as Q to suddenly them saying that, was Simon had come forward to say that actually ignore the other 3, or didn't say ignore the other 3, but he is now, believe it or not, in contact with the real Q.
For many of you, it might be difficult to accept or understand, but those of you who have followed me and have watched me know that I actually do speak the truth. And if I said to you that I've spent 1.5 hours talking to the real Q, then that's exactly who I've been speaking to. And in fact, Becky was also on that call with me, and that was very, very supportive and helpful. And what's been agreed is that a couple of other people who I have been involved with on the radio shows or interviews will be invited to take part in a discussion, and we can talk about how we've got to this position and what might be coming up. I won't be responsible for bringing that together, but I will be one of the participants in that.
I mean, we're just peeling layers off this onion of ridiculousness here. When you look at it, when you look at it all like this, with everything together.
I've received quite a few death threats on me. There are they're related to Mr. Parks and indirectly related to Q as well. So I don't tell people of my movements usually. I ask for and receive angelic protection and protection from the Galactic Alliance. So I try to keep a low profile, but it hasn't stopped me from speaking out. And I've mentioned this issue before with Q to warn people, women and men too. He's attacked men as well, because sexually assaulting people, whether they're a man or a woman, is not right. And it can leave tremendous psychological scars that take years to heal. And people should be aware of it. And yeah, that's kind of a summary of it. But Mr. Parks now works for a 3-letter agency. And his organization has changed. I think it started out as a really good spiritual group. But as he's molded the organization to what they want, not necessarily what's the best for people, but for what they want, this is how he's doing it now. And the rest of these details are contained in the dossier that I've sent out to over 100 different light workers that will be released should something happen to me.
So you knew Q. I hate to keep calling him Q because
his name is Dean McDaniels. You can call him Mr. McDaniels if you like.
And you're happy for me to share?
Absolutely. If
Okay.
he's hurting people, if he's assaulting men and women, then I think his name should be known.
I agree.
I'm not afraid of saying his name publicly.
Okay. So I mean, I'd found out some stuff around this man, and I looked into him doing my own investigations and seen that there was a court case just last year around a disability claim. Apparently, he's quite blind. However, his claim in court, which he lost, by the way, was that the fact that they weren't giving him the right disability allowance, that it affected his divorce claim. So you have to wonder why this guy's getting divorced, and perhaps the details around what we'll share may be the reasons for that. And some other things, some other details that I found out, but we won't go on talking about that. But yeah, this guy, this Q guy, let's try and rein ourselves back in because we keep getting ahead of ourselves here. How did you meet? And what am I going to call him now? I'm not going to keep
calling
Mr.
McDaniels. That's his real name. Let's stop hiding him. Mr. Dean McDaniels. How did I meet Mr. McDaniels?
How did you meet Mr. McDaniels?
I was at a little psychic fair, and he came up to me and he said, "We're supposed to work together." And I looked at him, and I was first I didn't catch on. I said, "Well, would you like a reading?" So I gave him a reading, and then we became friends after that. And back then I really didn't have a problem with him. He wasn't doing anything that he was just trying to help people, but he did change. And his background is that at one time he had I think he was abducted as a child and worked for MK Ultra. I don't know the details, but basically they've come back to get him, and now he's back working for the same negative elements that he escaped from at one time, which is really too bad because he used to do really good work a couple of years ago, and I liked him. I promoted him on my show, but now I want to let people know that he has changed, and not for the better.
So you knew him by his real name beforehand. When did he start saying that he was Q?
Yeah, later he told me he was Q.
Right. And this was before you started interviewing him, I'm guessing.
Right.
So you had this guy on the show who said he was Q. I've watched a couple of the interviews that I've managed to find with yourself and this guy on there. I think at least two. He proclaims to be a time traveler, a being that has consciousness connected to two other Qs. There's three of them that he proclaimed were the top of the tree, as it were, in Q. And he claimed many other things, but also was kind of like a spiritual worker, I guess. So I mean that's the best way I could kind of sum up the way he kind of came forward.
Right.
I watched the interview with yourself, Charlie Ward, and this Q. It was interesting. It's one way to put it.
Yeah. And my friend, at one time he was doing very good work for people. I saw him bring two young women back, college students, who'd gotten both into terrific car accidents. After graduating from college, they were near death in an emergency room. He brought them both back to life. I don't know how he did it, but he did do it. And I tell you, their parents were extremely grateful. And I was happy he did that too. That's a good thing. But later
wait. Sorry, wait. You physically witnessed
I didn't
this
physically
man.
witness. It was by phone. The clients were in Seattle and North Carolina. But I heard from the parents that he had performed a miracle on both of them.
A physical miracle, or
A
like some
physical
sort of
miracle.
metaphysical
Yeah.
metaphysical miracle?
They were both near death.
Give him CPR.
No, he had done it by
Um,
phone.
First aid. By what? By
By
phone.
phone. By phone. But
Okay.
I know it's unbelievable, but
I mean, I'm an open-minded skeptic. Is maybe how I'll describe myself.
okay.
So, I mean, you know, it could be that they were recovering on their own, and he was on the phone at the same time. But you know, we're talking about coincidences here, and you
Sure.
have to have faith. You have to have faith sometimes in things, and
he was he was able to bring in some very good energy, let's say, to help both of these young ladies, 19 and 20, recover from life-threatening injuries. And the doctors considered it a miracle. And I was very happy to promote him on my show, and because that's a great thing. That's a good thing. So it was quite sad when he started working for the other side, and then I started getting reports of these assaults on people. And I had to back off from him. Then I said, I can't associate myself with you any longer. Good luck. I don't want anything to do with you. That's what I said.
I mean, so would you describe that as working for the other side? Because you talked to me about this offer from the CIA for Simon. Was this was Mr. McDaniels offered the same offer, or was he?
I honestly, I don't know.
So you say he worked for the other side. Then did he work for the other side, or did he start to become maybe a dirty old man?
I think
did he start to prey on people because of his own because of how do I put this, because of his own desires and carnal desires, etc.
Let me make some definitions clearer to help get to the truth. When I say the other side, starting in December of 2021 into January this year, I mean the reptilians and the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, because those are the agencies that Simon Parks works for. Okay, and as he started working for them, I know him and Parks started working closely together, and I know that Parks was has sent out many death threats on me. So that's when I had, and that coupled with the assaults I was hearing about on women, I had to back off, completely back off. And I have had no contact with him since that time. But I have been trying to warn people about what's going on, because if they get a session with this Mr. McDaniels, there is a risk that it'll go a lot further than psychological or spiritual counseling, that you'll end up getting physically or sexually assaulted based upon the evidence that I have seen. I mean, when over a dozen different women in different countries contact you and say, look, after this session I had with Dean McDaniels, Q, whatever his name is, I was later that night, I was physically sexually assaulted in my dream state by him. I knew it was him. You got to pay attention, and it's a serious charge. I don't care what dimension you're in. If somebody's raped, that's a serious charge. And it's happened to people I've known. So, I don't consider sexual assault to be. I'm not going to stand by and just kind of say, well, it's okay, or back off because it's in the fourth dimension. You talk to some of these victims, and it's very real what happened to them. They're traumatized. It can take years of counseling to get them back on track, and they didn't sign up for that when they got a session from him. Okay, and people should be aware of it. So, yeah. So that's kind of a summary.
I mean, absolutely. And someone that we both know, and in fact has aided our connection, someone that I know that is a friend to me and a friend to you, I believe, has shared her story with me. And
right.
It's, I mean, am I to understand that in at least some of these sessions that you connected Mr. McDaniels, Q, to these women? So then therefore you probably have this kind of personal, moral kind of want to make sure that things are put right all in this world, that the truth is told in that respect, that you wouldn't want to be in any way feel that you were instrumental, and even if you do, you want to try and make sure that's put right in this world.
Yeah, exactly. I had no idea what he was doing to these men, women, and men until I started getting these reports. Then I started immediately backing off, and I said, you can't do this to people. I don't care who you are. I don't care how great you are. I don't care if you can bring back people from the dead. Okay, you can't do that without their permission. You just can't go in and do it. You can't do anything you want. One of the things he said to me in January was that he can do anything he wants and there will be no consequences. And I said, that's not God's universe. If you do bad things to people, you're going to be punished for it. I don't care who you are and who you think you are, but you will have to pay. This is a planet of karma. You do bad stuff, you're going to get bad stuff. You do good stuff, you're going to get good stuff. It just balances that's the universe. But the reptilians, yeah, it's arrogant. And the reptilians have that kind of worldview where they can do anything they want because they think they're God. So that's why I say that, in my humble opinion, that he started working for the reptilians and that 3-letter agency I mentioned now, and he's changed. So I haven't had contact with him since then. I don't want contact with him. I want to keep away because he can every night. I'm protected heavily by angels in the Galactic Alliance, and I ask for protection because there have been times in the last year or two where my life's been in danger. So I keep a low profile. I speak the truth, and as much as I can, and I ask for angelic and galactic protection constantly.
So Ted, I'm gonna lay this down here. That's for me. Although I'm a truth seeker and open-minded, I have to, within my channel and my investigations, put in a layer of discernment and level playing field when it comes to talking about such matters. So when you're blurring the I'm not saying that anything's not the truth, but you're blurring talking about reptilian aliens with also talking about which we haven't necessarily discussed yet, but actual physical court cases about an individual where they have abused in some way their clients. I feel there's a duty for me to kind of try and sort that and keep one side of the story separated from the other the best you can, even though it's intertwined, isn't it? Really.
Okay, understood. Understood. That's fine.
So there's an element of there'll be people watching today that'll be like, oh, okay. Well, this is real. Oh, hang on a minute. I don't believe in reptilians. I'm not going to listen to Ted anymore.
Okay.
Right?
Well, I don't have to talk about them, but I'm just being honest with you about my world belief.
I'm not telling you not to talk about them. You're absolutely welcome to talk. You tell me your truth, Ted. Okay. I am basically stepping in and saying, okay, can I dissect it? Can I say, let's talk about what physically happened. Let's talk about your truth as well, but let's make sure that we make a distinction between what some people may see as their truth or their.
That's fine.
Where am I trying to go here? I'm trying to say that not everyone will. There's going to be a lot of people that are watching the show that are going to want to know what facts you have to tell them that they can resonate with. And so I wouldn't want to put them off by going into them working for reptilians when you may know and you may have evidence of them working for a very physical in their realm organization, human perhaps to most extents, organization, which is the CIA or the NSA or whoever you're saying that they work for. So what I want to understand is a timeline. And what I'm trying to follow here is a timeline that you met Q. At some point, Simon who you'd known, you were friends with both. Simon was like, connect me with with Q, Mr. McDaniels, right? And then you did the interviews with, how many interviews did you did with between Simon and Mr. McDaniels?
Quite a few. Last year, I had about a dozen different hacking attempts on my website. And as a result of those hacking attempts, I had to spend over $1,000 getting the best protection I could possibly find to protect those websites. And as far as I know, everything is operating normally now. Even though any video by me posted on YouTube will be rejected, other people interviewing me for the last 2 years, all of them, every single one of them has been allowed to stand up. As long as it's under their name, like M, Seeker of Truth, not me. When I've been interviewed dozens of times at different people all over the world, and they've all stood up. And you can research that too if you like. So if you want to be careful, go ahead. You can change my name to Paul Smith. I don't care.
No,
but
I won't.
Just saying that you probably won't have any problem.
Do you think that maybe you're being targeted for refusing such an agency's offer, perhaps?
That's a very good question. And I think that probably is a yes. Yesterday, I had on my regular radio station program on BBS radio out of Texas, I had about 195 million people listening in over 100 countries. The number of people have been growing sometimes by 5 or 8 million per week, every week now for months. And so people can't stop. They want the truth, and it's coming out rapidly. And people don't want to be lied anymore, and they really want to know what's going on. So, and it also shows me that the whole world is waking up, and that's something the negatives can't stop.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's definitely an element, and I'll say from my perspective, there's so many things that are wrong, and that truths need to come out. And then there's this whole playing field now, this minefield of a truth. Many people talking, and you need to kind of weed out things to try and get a clear overview. And maybe none of us out there that are trying to be truth seekers have 100% handle on it. We may believe one thing and maybe not believe in another thing, and who knows, because the amount of confusion that's happening these days, which leads us back to well-known three-letter agencies spin doctoring this disinformation, and the fact that they will hire people that certainly come to some sort of popularity to try and steer these crowds now, these crowds of people that want to know the truth. And they will look up to certain people. And I know that there's a lot of people that look up to you, but there's a hell of a lot of people that were looking up to Simon. And why wouldn't such agencies offer such people deals? Of course, they're going to get people that turn them down, because their morals, their values cannot compete with that. No, I've done this. I've had my heart in this place all my life, such as yourself, perhaps. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to take that money. And then you may have people that will take the money. Mm-hmm. It's quite probable. In fact, it's something that people should seriously consider. It's something that people should seriously consider, that Simon would be offered such a deal, as well as many other of these mainstream truthers.
If you'd like to verify at least some of what I'm talking about, you can go to Simon's website himself, simonparks.org, look up biography, and there in the biography it talks about his English grandfather who worked for MI6, how his mom worked for the NSA. And I mean, it's all documented, and how his soul is part reptilian. I mean, that's all there.
Ted had said that Simon had expressed his desire to work with the CIA or NSA because of his family background. Now, Simon's own professed family background, which you can see in many old videos, and also on it was on his website for a long time until it was questioned. Hang on a minute, you've got so many ties to intelligence agencies and perhaps the Freemasons, etc. It's it's very questionable, and that was then removed. His background was removed from his site. But I've covered this before in previous videos. So this is nothing. Simon isn't now talking about. He was talking about and is now talking about again, because obviously it was out there and it's questionable. And now Ted is obviously calling him out for this.
The Central Intelligence Agency wanted me to become part of what's called Operation Mockingbird. Operation Mockingbird was a program started just after President Kennedy was assassinated back in the 60s. And originally, it was designed to influence and control American media in the fight against communism. And that has since changed into a program where they control the media, or attempt to control the media in the United States, by influencing certain broadcasters to make them disseminate certain information according to how they want it done. And that's the program that they wanted Simon and I to work under. I didn't want to do it. He did. So that's really the bottom line.
Did he really want to do it? Well, I suppose he probably
Yes,
did.
he really wanted to do it.
He wanted to be a part of the CIA.
He said he told me on the phone, on the Zoom call back in June of 2020, that if he couldn't fulfill his life mission working for the Central Intelligence Agency, then he would have failed in his life. And I heard that and I said, Simon, you're going one path, I'm going another. I wish you well. No hard feelings. I don't want to do it. I didn't work as hard as I did to do it, come to this point in my life. So good luck to you. I wasn't mad at him. I just said, look, you want to go that way? Go ahead. That's your choice. I don't want to do it. Go ahead.
God, yeah, no, I wouldn't want to do it either. But thank you for sticking by who you are and your your morals around the matter. The crux for me is what you'd said around the offer was this much money to disseminate disinformation. So Simon did in one of his recent videos, he did a Q&A session, and ultimately one of the CC members put forward a question and said that many members were asking for him to address Ted Mahr's statements.
We have a question here from an Ireland coordinator who says that some members are asking, what was Ted Mahr referring to regarding the global CC meditation last Sunday?
Right. I don't really know too much. People will know who followed me for a while that I used to do regular Ted Mahr shows, but things went sour when a member of the CIA contacted Ted and asked Ted to pass a message to me. And what had happened is that 2 weeks before that, I had a representative of the United States Navy, the Marine side, turn up here, and I've talked about this, and spend 4 hours with me and talk to me and all the rest of it. That famous statement that the person made to me was, well, we don't believe in an application form. We want to come and see how the person is in the house and make our judgment for themselves. And that person came here all the way from America, spent 4 hours here in this house. And 2 weeks later, somebody from the CIA connected with Ted Mahr and asked Ted Mahr to pass me a message. And that message was, we would like to offer you $250,000. I think it was $150,000. I can't remember, but offer me money. An apartment in DC has been organized. You can bring your cats and your dogs. This apartment overlooks all the administrative buildings in DC, and you'll be right in the heart of it. And we want you to work with Ted Mahr on his radio show. Well, every alarm bell that I ever have went off, and other things occurred.
which led to me distancing myself from Ted Maher, because I've been very open with everyone. 2010, I came from a family that was deeply involved in intelligence. My mother worked for MI5. Really, she was working for the National Security Agency. My grandfather, who was working for MI6, was originally reporting to the CIA. So he was somewhat different. It was a bit, one going one way, one going the other way. So I understand and I recognize all this, and I don't have a connection with them. My connection is with the military, the intel part of the military. So I don't associate with the CIA. One day, perhaps I will, when they've all been cleaned up.
So he says, "Oh no! Every red flag went off. I didn't do that deal. No. It's the U.S. Navy that I'm affiliated with. I'm getting intel with, right? So just let's say this is real." And he says it was 250,000 or 150,000. I forget now. Bollocks! Would you forget that figure? Think about it. Anyone watching this video, think about it. If the CIA approached you and said, "You know what? I'll give you an apartment and you'll earn 250,000 a year," you would not forget that figure. This guy, you wouldn't go, "Oh, was it 150,000? Oh, or was it 25,000? I can't remember the figure now. Balls, right?" So he says, no, it wasn't the CIA. They offered me 250,000, I think it was 150. I don't remember now. Whatever. I didn't work with them. But the US Navy, yeah, they came to my house, right? They don't believe in application forms. They believe spending the day in someone's house to get the gist of them. So they've come and spent 4 hours in his house that day, and they were like, "Yeah, you got the right stuff. I'll see you opening those cat food tins. I'll see you providing for your 8 cats." And I don't know, taking them for a walk, whatever he does, I don't know.
And at home, he's kept on his toes by his 9 cats.
Fighting.
Brother and sister, you see, they are always at each other's throats. It's very naughty and don't allow it.
Cats are a matriarchal society.
Are aliens matriarchal?
Some of them are. Just some of them are.
What about your aliens?
Male. Male dominated, very, very clearly.
I've seen you in your home life, and we want you on our team, our intelligence team. We're gonna. It's just, it's just insane that they would do that. They would fly over from America, come and spend 4 hours in his house to see whether he's worth joining the intelligence team. For operations in the US.
It's not surprising that people will attack me. Maybe they'll say that the meditation was bad or wrong, because that's all they can go at. And I did actually, Charlie Ward and I both, when we have interesting issues, we will go back to Florida. We have our own different route ways, but all roads lead to Rome. They all go back up to Florida. And it's interesting that both Charlie had an issue, and I don't know what it was. We don't discuss that with each other. We're not interested. But we have separate issues, but we both got told the same thing, which was basically, don't worry about it. The bad guys are being exposed. And they said, we know who the good guys are. And the good guys shine out. And the bad guys, they become the darkness and the heaviness around them. Also alerts us to it. And this is a time of exposure. Anybody who makes a criticism of the meditation either genuinely hasn't understood why we did it and what we've achieved, or they literally are jealous, or they've been paid to be difficult. I'll give you an example. Charlie Ward talked about the conference that he wants to plan in September in London. And he said where it was going to be. Within hours of that, there were 20 phone calls to that venue saying that if they allowed the white hats, and Charlie Ward and that's the one I've been invited to speak to go ahead, they would, quote, storm the building. Well, not sure how that's going to happen, because it'd be something like 50 security guards on the external, and I'm not allowed to tell you how many on the inside. So that isn't going to happen. But the very fact that people phoned up immediately to try to stop it tells us so much. Why would somebody want to stop something good? It must be because those people are protecting the evil side. They are protecting the paedophiles. They are protecting all the child traffickers, all of the kids in the underground bases, the evil people holding them hostage. They're protecting that. They're protecting all the deep staters. So if a good person is attacked, well, we need to ask ourselves why. I'm not going to be too concerned, because I've spoken to Florida. Florida have a list of people who are never going to be anything, amount to anything. And they have a list of people who've stayed true. They might not just be intel, they might just be good patriots. Those cabal people, their days are gone. Excuse me, their days are over. They've got no role to play. So, we will see. CC will, I don't have to say anything. People will see this organization opening buildings, being associated with great humanitarian works. That's, and I don't have to advertise it. That is what's coming. And anybody who wants to shout at me from the sidelines, well, the reason you're shouting at me is because you've got no influence. You've got no power. You're going nowhere.
So then he goes on to talk about his problems. And Charlie Ward's got the same, it's got similar problems. We don't talk about what problems we have, because we're not interested. Bollocks again. Come on now. Oh, we've got this big problem with, someone saying this, someone saying that. We took it to Florida. That's home base. We took it to Florida. I didn't bother. Charlie Ward said he had a problem. He took it to Florida. We didn't bother talking about what the problem was. Bollocks. You're having these meetings, you would say, you would just say, oh, this is what happened to me. All right. I mean, whether or not he's just decided not to talk about it on purpose and just saying, oh, we don't talk about it, we're not interested, which is a lie, a white lie, if that's the case, that he does know, rather than saying, oh, I don't want to talk about it. But yeah, that's not right. There's nothing right about that. And he's saying that, me and Charlie Ward got our own avenues to Florida, but it all leads back to Florida. I mean, it's just so shilly. I know it's the summer, but it's certainly getting shilly around here. With all this stuff, and then he goes on to talk about Charlie wanting to do this events in London coming up in September, like they did in Birmingham not too long ago. And he said within, what was it? He said minutes or hours of them booking the venue, they received loads of phone calls at the venue, threats that they're going to storm the venue if they have these people show up there. What? And then that's not going to happen because we've got 50 security guards outside. Are these security guards SAS again? Are they, Simon? Like last time, your SAS patrolling, the building in Birmingham, 50 security guards and an undisclosed amount inside to protect them. So you're saying you've got like 60, 70 hired guards for an event that you've just booked, and then you're apparently getting all these threats to storm the building, or is this a deterrent from anyone? Not that I would endorse storming the building, but I would endorse phoning up the venue and saying, do you know what sort of people you've got hosting an event there? Can I explain to you what they're telling what they're telling people? Or what they're not being honest about, or they're pretending to be. He says, why would someone want to stop that from happening? Why would anyone want to stop the good guys from talking? Who's to say you're a good guy? I know that some people do say that. I say some people. You've got an organisation with a lot of adoring members following you, and same with Charlie Ward. You know, lots of people following. Some maybe brainwashed, some just maybe idolization. You know, but who's to, you know, prove you're a good guy. Prove you're the good guy. Prove that you are working for the good guys in this world, and prove that you're not scamming, misleading people. People just need to have discernment around this, okay? And it's interesting what Ted Maher has said, and if he's to be believed, I mean, they both acknowledge that they were offered this deal, and Ted seems to think that Simon took it. And I've talked in many videos, and I've speculated for a long time, you know, that perhaps a lot of people in this movement could be injected into this movement as controlled opposition, as agents of disinformation to contain what is an ever-growing truth movement of free-minded individuals, open-minded individuals that are now looking at things differently and want to question things. And what would you expect intelligence agencies to do to control that? They would inject their own, you know, they would inject people to try and control, contain, like in some sort of organization, perhaps, and disperse whatever is on their agenda in terms of information. Just something to think about. At the end, he goes on to say, you know, anyone that's going to criticize me, at the end of the day, they're just jealous. And, you know, anyone that wants to critique me, you know, they've got no influence. And I will speak on behalf Ted, being Simon, intel, and you know, critique and his actions, behaviors, etc. Critique his meditations, his dodgy, dark, you know, questionable, dark energy meditation ritual to gather energies for here, you know, whatever, you know, to question that. All of us have got no influence. I beg to differ. You did these interviews with Simon. He wanted you to connect him to Q. You did lots of shows with Simon and Q, which I'll have to go back and watch a lot of that material. What I've seen, I think, is enough. I saw you do an interview with Charlie and Q. Charlie is someone that I've heavily investigated, and if you don't know me, it seems like you don't know who I am. So the videos that I did around Charlie circulated amongst the truther movement and caused quite a stir. So there is a lot of work I've done around Charlie. So I've not even asked you about Charlie here, and maybe that's something that I'll ask later. But I've done a lot of work around Charlie, but I don't want to put you off because I know that, you know, you and Charlie had you know, you kind of kicked it off a bit. Was it only one show you did with him?
I only did one show with Q and Charlie.
Yeah, he had some banter, but he was not feeling this Q. I can tell you that. And Charlie falls for everything. However, when Q was putting forward things, Charlie was not biting. And he even said to you at one point, it was like, I was trying to push him for some answers there. We got what we got. And that, you know, the whole kind of energy exchange thing he did at the end. He asked about six. He asked about 6 times. Can you feel anything now?
Oh yeah, right. I remember that. Yeah.
And he said he was like, oh yeah, I feel good. And then he said blah 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 blah. Do you feel anything now? And he said, well, you know, I feel pretty good. Yeah. He's like, okay, well, blah 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 blah. I think at some point you'd said, Ted, oh, the lights changed on you, and Charlie was probably feeling pressured at this point to say, yeah, I feel different.
Right.
like many people would. And this is a common this is a common technique that people use to pressure people into validating their scam. Hypnotists, not saying that all hypnotists are scammers, some are, will use this. They will say, and now you're doing this, and they might be like, no, you're not. Oh, okay. And they, not just hypnotists, many people will try and reinforce, try to peer pressure you into agreeing that something's changed. Psychics do it quite a lot. Tarot readers, people that can connect with the other side will do it. Oh, do you know someone called Andy? Well, no, no, I don't know anyone called Andy. I knew an Andrea. Yes, it's definitely Andrea. Oh, there you go. It's this, and they probably just wanted. It was like, no, that's not Andrea's, not Andy, but they wanted to please the person doing the show. So what I'm trying to get at is I saw this, and about 6 times he asked, "Is anything changed?" before Charlie finally caved in and said, "Yeah, there's a pressure on my head." And he said, "Well, that's us helping you."
We can do an exercise right now. Ted, I will let you know my inspiration is starting to change. So if we have some following questions, otherwise I'll show Charlie how he can heal right now.
Okay, great. That's fine.
All right, Charlie.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to come into your space a little stronger now. Okay, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. With great care and great respect and great love, I'm going to come in a little stronger here. We're going to bring, say, light energy over the top of you. It'll be very subtle. You'll only get as much as you are ready for. And the more we work together, the more you'll be able to do this and share this tool. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you breathe 7 times with me? I'll count. Ready? 1. Nice and big. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. All the audience members can do this too. All right. Now you can feel me more and more. Here we go. Repeat after me, please. I command my spirit.
I command my spirit
to increase my life force energy.
To increase my life force energy.
Now.
Now.
I command my spirit.
I command my spirit
to increase my life force energy.
To increase my life force energy.
Now.
Now.
I command my spirit.
I command my spirit
to increase my life force energy.
To increase my life force energy.
Now.
Now.
Count after me. 10.
10.
9.
9.
8.
8.
7.
7.
6.
6.
5.
5.
4.
4.
3.
3.
2.
2.
1.
1.
Now.
Now.
Okay, just let it settle in. Just breathe. Focus on your breathing. There'll be another wave coming in. All right. How do you feel?
I feel good.
Okay, so there'll be subtle little waves. You can feel it in your heart center, we assume. Now, you can do that whenever you want. How do you feel now?
Yeah.
You see it?
Yeah.
Good job.
So notice now, this is the second time he said, "How do you feel?" And what's happening here is, it's a common technique amongst these sort of circles. They are looking for some sort of affirmation that what they're doing is working. And usually people feel so either they're taken in by these sort of experiences, and they will convince themselves that some sort of experience is happening because they want it to, or they feel it should be. But quite often, more often than not, there's an air of embarrassment around it, and you can hear this on these hypnotists. They do stage shows and things, and I've heard so many stories about people not actually being hypnotized but going along with it because there was something in them that felt they had to. They felt embarrassed. They didn't want to be on stage and say, "No, it's not working for me," although people do. And he's looking for a signal that, yeah, it worked. Or, yeah, I feel different. And Charlie's not giving him that. Charlie is trying to. He's trying to kind of the best he can not be sucked in here. So, how do you feel? Yeah, pretty good. So, how do you feel now? Yeah, good. And he'll ask, "How do you feel?" many more times. Just watch.
Okay, so it's like a muscle.
Mhm.
Now you're going to feel a little bit more all the time because we're right over the top of you now. Okay, so just let it settle in. It's a little weird to work with at first, but it's very, very powerful. It's just like a muscle. How do you feel now?
Mhm.
All right, so did you know you changed on the screen? Ted, want to comment?
Yeah, you got a lot lighter, a lot more light coming into you, Charlie. I can see it. Yeah, before you were a little darker, now you're much lighter on your face and neck and top of your head.
Okay, so let's explain that exercise like we do in the callers.
Mhm.
So Charlie, what we did there is you're talking to your spirit and you're just asking for help down in the very bellows of this version of this human at a very low frequency. And so the more we exercise that muscle, the more it's going to come into you and the more help you're going to get. How are you feeling?
Mhm. I can feel pressure on my head.
Yeah, and so that's us helping you today.
And there you go. He's got affirmation. And I think at this point, Charlie felt so awkward. He's like, there's some pressure in my head, I think. Might be a headache from being asked this many times, how do I feel? Some pressure in my head. And there, straight away, got the affirmation. It's working now. I've asked you, 5 times, how do you feel? And now you're saying you feel slightly different. And obviously, as well, it's kind of funny that Ted maybe even felt compelled to say, "Oh, yeah, I think the lighting might have changed."
And you'll only get as much as you're ready for. It's a long story, but that's why I'm inspired to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, imagine what you can do when you command your spirit. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel that it's just adding pieces of the puzzle, giving clarity.
I have to tell you, Charlie, you've got this beautiful white, this glow of light around you now. You had light around you when we started, but it's really blossomed since you had that session with Q.
Yeah, no, it was very, very enjoyable for me.
Good. I'd love to bring you up on board, my friends, Pleiadian. It's Pleiadian Admiral Halosaurus. He's in charge of the 2.5 million Pleiadian craft around the planet.
Okay.
And he said you're welcome up anytime, so we won't do it now, but we'll do it maybe next week or whenever you're
definitely.
Yeah, I'll bring you up. Yeah.
Oh, he was he wasn't joking. I did not believe in this. Although our mutual friend said that she had a private session with him and she did feel elated by the experience. So that she felt something. So, and I take all this seriously. I'm just trying to say I watched that and I kind of cringed after the 6th time he'd asked, has anything changed? Charlie had finally admitted he had, but I do not believe he really had much faith in Q, to be honest. But going back to Q and your relationship with him and with Simon got wanted to connect with him. So did Simon want to connect with him because he felt that might get him a job at the CIA?
I really don't know what his true motive was, except that he knew that Q had some good powers, was curious about him, and wanted to talk to him. And I said, fine, no discussion of any work for that 3-letter agency was discussed during that phone call. Now, I don't know what happened after that because I didn't even know that Q or Dean McDaniels was in contact with Simon until I found out later he was. And then came the reports of the sexual assaults on women and some men too. And that's when I cut communication. So I don't know what's happened since that time. My knowledge is limited.
I need to be clear here. Right? And you introduced McDaniels to Simon.
Correct. At Simon's request.
And at Simon's request, you did these videos. And then when did what happened? How did you guys get offered to work for the CIA? What happened then thereafter?
Both Simon and I were independently approached. I was approached by an agent named Kathy Anderson, and I'm not sure how he was approached, but like his grandfather was MI6, his mother was NSA. I mean, he has his own contacts within those intelligence agencies. I don't know exactly how he was approached, but I was approached, and then with an offer for Simon to work for the Central Intelligence Agency, and for both of us to work. Actually, it would be part of my radio show, and this is before my radio show really took off.
I must ask, how were you approached? By email?
I was approached by a lady who came on one of my trips to Mount Shasta. I go to Mount Shasta every year, and she had approached me on one of the trips to Mount Shasta. I was kind of naive back then, and I said, I asked her who she worked for. She said she was from Washington, D.C., and I said, "Who do you work for?" And she said, "The government." And I said, "What do you mean by the government?" And then she started explaining and said she worked for some white hats. And a little bit later, it took some time to get out, but she wanted me to approach Simon about him working and me on my radio show for this agency. And she said they were white hats and doing good work for the world and blah, blah, blah. But later I got information indicating that they were very dark hats, and I couldn't work for any agency like that. No way.
You met this person in person on your Mount Shasta retreat that you do every year, and she finally revealed that she. Do you think that she really did work for the agency that she said that she did?
100% correct.
Right, and she professed to work for the CIA.
Well, it wasn't. It was. I can't remember the name of the agency, but it was definitely affiliated with the NSA, CIA. I mean, all those agencies get blurred because they often have multiple affiliations. There's just not one agency they work for. They work for several agencies. But I did definitely know 100% with 100% accuracy that she was working for an intelligence agency.
Wow. So. And so she wanted. She asked you to get hold of your friend Simon as well.
Correct. And they wanted us to work together, and I didn't.
Right. So what did you tell her straight off then? Nah, that's not happening. Or did you say, okay, well, I'll pass the message on?
She specifically said when she first approached me that she was working for white hats within the government. And she wanted to have me and Simon work together to spread good information. And I was skeptical. I didn't know what to think because nobody's ever approached me like that. And I said, I'll have to think about it. And I will convey your message to Simon, who was very interested in it. And later, it turned out that the group she was working for was very dark, very, very, very dark. And at that point, I pulled back. I said, I can't do anything with you guys. Then I later found out she didn't say CIA or NSA. She said some other agency, but it turned out it was an intelligence agency directly part of those two agencies.
So you later found that it was a nefarious group.
Correct.
What did you find out?
A lot of that's in my dossier.
Right. Okay.
And
some of it,
I'd rather not disclose at this point. It's my insurance. If something should happen to me, it'll be released to the public. All the details are there.
I look forward to viewing it in confidence, of course, myself, and I'll absolutely.
I'd be happy to get you a copy, Em, as long as you just keep it confidential. That's all I ask.
I value your safety, your pride, especially since you're kindly doing this interview with myself. But with anyone, in fact, I would make sure that they would be kept safe. And this is your safety. This is what they call a dead man's trigger, isn't it?
Correct.
You do something to me and all this information will come out. I will say so much information, but you don't know what I'm sitting on here.
That's right.
And it will come out. So you know, I appreciate that. I've got my own, in a way, pieces of information that I've shared with people that I wouldn't put on my channel about certain individuals that are there to be released if anything happens to me. I mean, not that you know, not that it's necessarily SP, but it might be. So, saying this, you turned it down, and what happened next? Because Simon had taken the offer. How did you find this out, and then what happened from there?
He wouldn't respond to my request to come on my show ever again. He banned me from Connecting Consciousness, his spiritual group. I started getting death threats on me. And some of them were quite serious. And I don't think I've got PTSD, but it hasn't been fun, believe me, dealing with those issues for the past, I don't know, year and a half now. And
sorry to hear this.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm still alive and I am protected, and I know I'm going to make it through, but it's not been fun, believe me. I will include some information in the dossier I send you about a lot of things I'd like to talk about today, but I'd rather not, to be honest. Details that
I mean,
I'm happy to share with you only.
Let's have some discussions after this. Obviously, this is the first time we are connecting, other than through messages and emails. And I felt it was important that we did this, and we kind of did it off the cuff, so people see the natural. I mean, you know, because I've been looking into investigating these matters for some time, and you're stuck in the middle of it, and now I'm stuck in the middle of it in some way. And it's kind of interesting, probably, for people to view us two meeting each other and not knowing, you know, where it's going to go. I mean, I've researched you, I've looked into your videos, I obviously know quite a lot, but I have no idea what response you're going to give me, really, to the questions that I really want to ask you. So,
well, I trust my angels, and they said you'd be a good person to talk to. So I just said, that's fine. I come from a psychic family where it was normal to talk to spirits and angels and benevolent beings on the other side. So that's my life, and I trust what they say, you know. And if they say you're okay, in my book, you're okay. So I mean, it's fine. I always trust my heart and mind as to what I should do, where I should go. If my heart says yes, I just go with that. So.
Well, I'm glad your heart said yes to me, and I'm glad that whoever's on your side is singing my praises, as it were. You know, and I am, you know, I like to think I'm a good person. I do this work for good, I believe, and I'm sure that a lot of people, even the people that connected you, even the person that's connected you, us together, you know, is a good person, and you know, I'm sure they've got good things to say.
Well, I really trust your friend who referred me and you and I to contact each other, because I know she's honest. She was in my spiritual mentoring program last year. She's got a heart of gold and wants to do the right thing. And she's very honest and very sweet. So when I received her report about what had happened to her and Mr. McDaniels, I was quite upset about it. And then she referred me to you. And if she referred me to you, then I know that you're okay in my book.
I am, and she is a lovely person, and I'm trying to conduct this interview with as much care as possible. And I know that, I mean, I didn't expect you to necessarily be as forward as you are, but obviously you've got your own protection, you've got your own plan in place, and in a way, no one can now come for you. You're safe now in that respect. I worried that I'd put a good-hearted person in any harm, because this will attract a lot of attention, Ted. I don't have millions of viewers like yourself, but I have core reviewers, which is breaching the walls of CC here, and that Simon has to, as he has done with you recently in video, make comment about my work through emails, etc., because it's causing disruption and dissension within his ranks, because people are listening to me.
Sure, I understand. I'd like to say for the CC group, Connecting Consciousness, there's a lot of really good people in that group. And that's one thing I want to make really clear. I have friends in CC. I don't agree with the leadership of Mr. Parks and what he does, but within the ranks, they're great people, a lot of really good people. They're just seeking truth, like your name is, Seeker of Truth. And they want to be helped through this ascension process. And that's a good thing, you know? You just have to, I think you have to have discernment about whatever anyone tells you. And if it doesn't resonate in your heart mind that it's good, then don't follow it. That's how I make my decisions. People have two minds. They've got one logical mind, which is a third dimensional mind. And then you have a heart mind that's plugged into God or the Creator. And if you follow your heart mind, you'll never go wrong in anything. That's just my opinion and belief. So for those of you listening out there, even if you're a member of Connecting Consciousness, follow whatever we've said tonight. If it resonates with you in your heart, fine, go ahead and follow it. If it doesn't resonate with you, this is a free will planet. You don't have to follow anything we've said on tonight's show. But my purpose here is to raise consciousness and make this world a better place. I started my radio show nearly 9 years ago now, and that's what I've done ever since. It's a nonprofit show supported entirely by donations, and that's the purpose of my show and my life, is to make this world a better and happier place. I was alive during the Atlantean time, 12,500 years ago, when the Atlanteans blew up much of the planet. Myself and many other light workers tried to turn around the planet then onto a good path, but we failed. And I know, but this time we are going to be successful, and the planet will shift into the higher dimensions. We have a beautiful, bright future, all of us, waiting all of us, in my opinion. We just have to just work for it. And it will be here sooner than you think.
The core of following your own truth and trying to make a better world, that always resonates with me. So I just thank you for being who you are now, and doing what you think is right, Ted. And I truly believe in my heart of hearts that in your heart of hearts that you're living life and doing what you think is right. I may have some questions and some concerns, perhaps because, again, I'm an open-minded skeptic around some of the things that you talk about, and I would like to get into them, but I really want to get to the bottom of. I was recapping. I asked you, how did you know that he'd taken the offer? Well, firstly, because he'd said to you that he was going to take the offer, right? And then after that, he wouldn't have you back on his show. Not only that, right, he kicked you out of Connecting Consciousness, his organization.
Right, that's right.
So there was no message exchange or forewarning for any of this, right? The last thing that you knew, you've both been offered a job. He said he was going to take it. You said, as a friend, you do what you want to do. I'm not going to take it. And that was it. You were kind of discommunicated, like many ex-coordinators from CC seem to be suddenly cut off if they challenge or intimidate Simon in any type of way. You got completely excommunicated from not only his organization, but from him as a friend, because you knew him for years.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right. That's correct. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And are these the only factors that feed into you believing that he took the job?
Oh yeah, yeah. I even went to his wedding in May of 2018 in Glastonbury. I was a witness to his wedding, believe it or not. And
so yeah, you were close friends.
Yeah, right. So I know him quite well. So but it's like with Dean McDaniels. Everybody's got a choice in this life, Em. You don't have to look for the truth. You could probably find a great corporate job somewhere earning 6-7 figures, but you've decided to do this work. And I'm the same way. I mean, I started my radio show when I was I was told by angels, messengers, if you will, to start my own radio show and start writing books, and that's exactly what I did back in 2013. So it's a long story, everything that happened, but I do pay attention to those messages from the angels and from higher spiritual authorities. So I come from a psychic family where it was normal for me to talk to the other side, and I pay attention to what they tell me and their advice.
Yeah, I mean, that's some stuff that I wanted to go into. I just wanted to make sure we got to the end of what's going on here. So, you know, you guys definitely got offered a lot of money to work for an agency of sorts. Simon accepted that. It was against your morals and values. You decided not to. You have decided recently to speak up about this, because there's this this dissemination of disinformation to people that trust you is something that, you know, me, you, maybe any other good souls would think is a bad thing. However, for 250 grand, I'm sure you could buy some people, a lot of people perhaps, and one of your friends and one of the people that I like to talk about on my channel decided to do that, apparently.
Right.
And you know this because they said they were going to take it. Beforehand, they said the desire to take some sort of offer. And you had said about suddenly they have lots of money to pay their coordinators. Now, I want to clear something up here, that I am talking to lots of ex-coordinators from CC, and this promise was real. Simon did promise them they'd all get paid for doing the job, but no one has since been paid. No one has been paid. So although there may have been funding, but if you think about the amount of products that Simon endorses, and the amount of donations he receives from patrons, really, from people that PayPal him, etc., he probably has enough to function very well. He probably earns a lot more money than myself, just through people's wanting to, you know, help him along the way. He doesn't need to he should declare the money. He doesn't need to declare that money. So whether or not he's receiving $250,000 to work in spreading this information, and if he does so, is that yearly paid? Is it monthly paid? How is that done? If you're going to promise, I don't even know the number worldwide of the amount of coordinators, but it will be in the hundreds. If you could promise that they're going to be paid, and I think the standard pay, and I might be wrong, the standard pay was around over 30 grand. So if you're going to pay each coordinator that, and you're talking hundreds, you're talking, you know,
a lot of money.
What? Oh, a lot of money. Let's not even do the maths.
You're talking a lot of money.
However, that money has not found its way to any coordinator, I can tell you now. So although he's promising this, it's not found anyone. So maybe if he's been promised money, that money hasn't found him either. The other thing he did say was about the Ted had said that suddenly he didn't have any money in 2018-19. Suddenly he has the money to fund to pay lots of coordinators to fund this organization by paying lots of coordinators. Now, just to clear that up, you know, I'm speaking to a lot of ex-coordinators from the Connecting Consciousness organization, and lots of ex-members too. But you know, all of these ex-coordinators had said, or a lot of them had said, that Simon in the past had promised them that that they would be paid for the position at some point. But what's important to note is all of them have expressed that no one ever got paid for that position, even you know, with Simon promising that they would. And interestingly, you know, the interview that I did recently with Steve and Jackie, ex-coordinators for Midlands, it was said that actually part of Simon's response after the sacking was, well, it's a shame if you'd have just held on for 4 weeks, which I think is about now. Yeah, it was about 4 weeks. If you'd have just held on for 4 weeks, we would have got the funding to pay the coordinators. So, nah. But I'm pretty sure, any coordinators, current coordinators watching out there now, I'm pretty sure they're still waiting on their paychecks, and I can predict that you'll be waiting a long time being forever, because I don't see you getting paid. Redemption centers from the new financial system, from QFS, quantum financial system. And he says, at the day of redemption, people are going to have to look into your heart and see if you're a good person, to whether you can be well off or not. And I have a lot of problems with this assessment of how that's going to work. But it's certainly not working. It's certainly not happening. And him, as well as Charlie Ward, have been saying for a year and a half at least, is going to be next week. Oh, yeah, it was meant till March. It's happening now. Of course,
going to be tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's gonna...
Exactly. And it does. It doesn't. It doesn't happen. And if they really do believe this is happening, then they're being taken for, like, if they really do believe it's happening tomorrow, as they're being saying, they're working for these teams. I have to wonder whether they're doing this because they're the people spreading the lies, or they're doing this because they're being told the lies and they believe the people telling them the lies.
True.
And for half a year, for 9 months, maybe even for a year, you can hang on and say, no, these guys are the real deal. But after that, you need to ask the question, are these people spreading disinformation?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, a good question. Yeah.
So, do you know any more after that about what's happened with this Mr. McDaniels in the Q case? It would seem that he suddenly, when all this happened, disappeared from anyone's radar. I noted 4 months ago you were warning Trudy and someone else, must be people you know, not to interview him. And you said, I warned them, they're still going to go ahead with it for whatever gain they think they're going to get. And I must speak my truth. And I appreciate that you did that. Did they do the interview? What happened afterwards? And
they did the
what's
interview.
happened to this person now?
They did the interview. And I do know that I've gotten a couple of reported cases of women getting assaulted by Mr. McDaniels as a result of that interview, where they either had a reading with him or asked him a question on the air, because then they contacted me later and I directed them to file a police report, to contact the radio station where you heard them, to file a complaint, to contact the sponsors of the program to let them know what was going on. Now, for a lot of women, to be honest with you, Em, it's very traumatic, or for most women, all women, it's traumatic to report the details, because then they have to relive it. That's one of the things that prevents a lot of rape prosecutions, because women get very, and I'm sure women will resonate with what I have to say. I'm not a woman, but from what I've been told, it's traumatic for them to go through the details of it, even to file out a police report, because some people can be very skeptical and it hurts. It's very hurtful. And a lot of times women will simply bury it, or they won't talk about it instead of naming the perpetrator. That's common, and I'm told, in rape and sexual assault cases, where they'll just kind of bury it, Let me think. There's something else let me see. Well, I'm reluctant to talk about this. I'm not going to say much on this public forum, but
I think it's wise to this is a minefield of a interview. To be honest,
right.
And I think
we should stop there. As far as I've said enough.
So I think we've got enough there for people to realize what's happening what Ted has been through, and to also elaborate a little bit more on what Ted has said on his own shows around his past with Simon Parks, with his past with Q or Mr. McDaniels, as Ted has brought forward, and also around his actions thereafter in trying to make sure that he does, this is the way I would put it, does what's right in this world to correct and inform everyone that, he may have unwittingly led towards people who may not be completely truthful. So for that, Ted, I give you my utmost respect in speaking out your connection to the Palladians and the mothership and the good coffee and the good hot chocolate, which that's the thing that I'm most intrigued by. If they would have me on, I like coffee, I like hot chocolate.
Okay,
so
good.
Pass that on.
Let's do it Tuesday or Wednesday, okay? If you like, anytime you want, later this week or next is fine. Just let me know when. It's fine. All right, good. Let me look at. Let me see here.
Is that their diary?
It's my daily diary. I don't do an electronic one. I keep a paper one. It's every page is a new day. So
this is if you're free, not if they're free.
Right.
Yeah,
actually, why don't we do it on let's see here. We could do it Thursday, actually, would be okay. And we could do it at maybe 12 noon my time. That would be 8 p.m. your time.
So I'll leave you with that, guys. Let me know your thoughts about all the content that's been covered in this video. Please leave some comments. Please like, share, subscribe the video. And, if you want to go one step further, there is a link to support my work and support my channel in the description. Guys, this has certainly been interesting. I'll see you on the next one. Follow M Seeker of Truth. Good night, guys.